Welcome to NarrativeNook Audiotales, where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening. It wasn't as if one gang could sort this all out. Today, Romeo had rallied the troops to avenge Arabella, mobilizing nearly half the forces of Inferno clan, whose base was in Mount Doom before. When he returned home, a whole host of traps would be waiting for him. If they kept digging, what they would unearth would involve a significant portion of the international powers. Arabella nodded in understanding. So, Inferno clan is like the right-hand man to these people, and these two data packages, not only are they evidence of Inferno clan's wrongdoings, but they also threaten the position of these people? Inferno clan is desperate to recover this evidence because this evidence is in Carol's hands. Carol has become a target. All in all, promise me that neither of you will interfere in this matter anymore, Clark insisted, not planning to elaborate further. He knew his sister was smart, but this matter was wide-reaching and had exceeded their capabilities. If they intervened further, it wouldn't be as simple as tripping them up. At best, they would lose everything. At worst, they would drag everyone around them down with them. One of the reasons they're after Carol is because she has this evidence. What's the other reason? Arabella asked again. Clark hadn't expected his sister to be so astute. Nothing ever got past her. After a moment's pause, he only replied, "She's been exceptionally gifted since she was little, with a unique personality. The leader of the organization took a liking to her and groomed her as a successor. As a successor, she didn't need to get her hands dirty, unlike the other lower-ranking members. In short, Carol hadn't really committed any heinous deeds. The leader often brought her along to various internal events. In addition, she just needed to attend the special training courses designed for her by the organization. Because her performances were always outstanding, so the elders highly regarded her. Despite her young age, she had the highest level access card, a silver key. After the leader's death, only she had the right to enter Inferno clan's private domain. The symbolic necklace she kept in Clark's amulet was a token of her being the successor. It was her proof of identity. Everyone who saw the necklace was as if they were seeing the leader of the organization and had to obey her. The reason for keeping such a precious necklace with Clark was to protect him from any trouble from the Inferno clan. This token necklace could save his life. Arabella understood, so they're searching for Carol not to persuade her to return and continue as the successor, but to seize her token and usurp her position, and to destroy any evidence she holds about the organization. Clark nodded, exactly. So, Carol had no choice but to hide. Once they found her and retrieved the token, both her and Clark's lives would be in danger. What about the poison in her system? Arabella asked again. Read the first part of that data package. It said that the elders were furious when Carol wanted to leave the organization. After numerous arguments, the elders finally relented and punished her with their method for dealing with traitors. That was to drink the deadliest slow-acting poison within the organization. After leaving the organization, her fate was left to destiny. Carol drank it. Clark nodded somberly. She had drunk it all. What she hadn't anticipated was how quickly the poison would take effect. And each attack was more painful than the last. By the 7th month of our relationship, the poison started to act up. She was in constant pain for half a year, and when she couldn't hide it anymore, she decided to leave. Clark hadn't expected this to align with his sister's speculation. Carol didn't leave because she didn't love him or because she had fallen for someone else. She was tortured by the poison and had no choice but to leave. What's more, at that time, the people in the organization had gone back on their word. They had originally promised to let her go after she took the poison, never to interfere with her life again. But time and again, the organization tried to kill her. At first, they tried to persuade her to return as the successor. When they realized she was adamant about not returning, they tried to take her successor token and replace her. Not only some people within Inferno clan, but even the external powers only recognized the token, not the successor. This artifact had been a cherished heirloom passed down from the vicinity of Inferno clan for the past century. It's not only the elders who crave for it. Even other internal factions were longing to get their hands on this gem. So, are you planning on facing this with Carol alone and keeping us out of the loop? Arabella finally understood. You want to shoulder the danger yourself, thinking that would keep me and Romeo at ease? Clark, we're all family here. Whatever comes, we face it together. Romeo chimed in. And what if this thing not only drags us down but everyone else around us? Not just you guys, but friends and family as well. They might never recover from this. Would you be willing to drag them down with you? Don't you care about them? We'll take care of it, Arabella stated confidently. You're only 18, Romeo's just 22, and you've both already shown exceptional promise in multiple fields. Why ruin your bright future by stepping into this mess? This matter involved Carol, hence, he was duty-bound to stand by her side. But it had nothing to do with his sister and brother-in-law. Hence, Clark wanted them to stay out of harm's way. Clark, regardless of whether you agree or not, we're getting involved. Arabella seemed determined. Leaving you and Carol to face this alone, me and Romeo can't do that. Whatever the faction, if they dare harm us, we'll root them out entirely. No matter who it was, if they dared to cross them, they would ensure they wouldn't have a place to rest in peace. I agree with Bella. Romeo nodded. Clark, you guys can't handle this alone. We need to join forces to stand a chance. Romeo. Clark was surprised that this guy took things so lightly, always going along with Bella's whims. He was hoping he'd talk some sense into Bella, but it turns out he was on her side. I agree with what Romeo said, and this matter is settled. Arabella didn't entertain Clark's objections any further. Carol should wake up soon. According to her, she probably wants to make the evidence public. I have an idea. Before Arabella could finish, her phone started buzzing. I got it. Romeo swiped the screen for her, answered the call, and held the phone to her ear so she wouldn't have to lift her hand. It was Edith calling. Arabella was about to greet her when a hushed, frantic plea for help came from the other end. Miss Bella, something's wrong at home. Before Edith could finish, the call was abruptly cut off. When they tried calling back, the line was already switched off. Edith called. Something must have happened at home. I'll send someone over to check. Arabella sensed the urgency, her eyes darkening. She planned on contacting their other folks to head over and check. Romeo immediately said, I'll send my people. They're closer. All right. Dare to lay a finger on their family? Did they have a death wish? Something happened at home? Was it Edith who called? What happened? Clark was taken aback by how quickly they had been targeted for revenge, and a wave of anxiety washed over him. We don't know yet, but it seems something's wrong. Arabella, judging by Edith's tone, didn't seem like she was joking. Edith wasn't one to joke around. If she made the effort to call, it must be serious. At that moment, Romeo called, instructing his people to get there as fast as they could. Clark wanted to call Louisa to check in, but Romeo advised him not to alert the enemy and to wait until his people arrived. Across town, near the estate of Reflection's villa, someone had Edith against a tree trunk, a knife at her throat. Who were you calling just now? Were you shouting for Bella? No, no, no. Edith denied vehemently. She had just returned from the designer's atelier, fetching her mistress a pair of custom boots. Just as she was at the doorstep, she noticed a suspicious figure lurking around. She instinctively dialed Bella's number, but before she could finish her sentence, the man had discovered her. He pinned her against a tree, a glinting knife held at her throat. I heard you call out for Mrs. Bella? The man raised an eyebrow, his black mask hiding most of his face, revealing only a pair of clear eyes that looked youthful. You've got it wrong. We only have a Serena, there's no Mrs. Bella. Why are you abducting me? I'm not worth much. I'm just a housemaid, and you won't get much by threatening me. It don't want money. The man's tone was chilling. Edith was terrified. Well, what do you want with me then? I can only do household chores, nothing else. Where is Clark? The man brought the knife closer, his tone threatening. Clark? Edith thought this man was an enemy of Clark. She quickly shook her head. I don't know. We servants are not privy to the whereabouts of the masters. Don't know. The man brought the knife even closer. Edith could feel the cold touch of the blade against her neck. She was scared out of her wits. I really don't know. Even if you kill me, I wouldn't know where he's gone. I'm not his enemy, T won't hurt him, and I won't hurt you. Just want to know where he is. Edith didn't believe his words, especially since he was wielding a knife. I wish I knew where Clark was. If I did, I'd tell you, but I really don't know, man. If you're his friend, why not give him a call? If he had Clark's number, he would have called already. Seeing that the maid truly knew nothing, Dennis' gaze darkened. Do you know when he'll be back? Edith shook her head again. Don't tell anyone about this, Dennis warned. Don't worry, even if I die, I'll take this to my grave. Seeing him loosen his grip on the knife, Edith's heart raced. Can I go now? Dennis stayed silent, his gaze even more gloomy. Edith quickly ran towards Reflection's villa. Dennis watched her leave, about to make his own exit, when Romeo's henchmen arrived. Blocked by a group of 7 or 8 men, he began to fight. As soon as Edith entered the house, she saw a brawl behind her. Terrified, she quickly took out her phone, trembling as she recorded a video and sent it to Bella. Mrs. Bella, another group of men have arrived, and they're fighting. The one with the black mask is the guy who kidnapped me, and he's after Clark. Should I tell the mistress? Is Clark in danger? Bella opened the video. Even though it was blurry when enlarged and the faces were unclear, she recognized Dennis's moves immediately. This is a huge misunderstanding. Bella seemed to have figured something out. She looked at Romeo and said, "Tell your men to stand down. It's Dennis." The phones of both parties rang at once, and Romeo's men, realizing it wasn't Carl calling but their big boss Romeo, scrambled to answer. Meanwhile, Arabella dialed Dennis's number. Hearing his unique ringtone, he assumed there was some emergency and picked it up without hesitation. "That's my fiancé's crew." Arabella had barely finished speaking when Romeo was heard telling the person on the other end of the line, "Hold off, that's my fiancé's friend." Both groups were taken aback, looking at each other in disbelief. "Retreat," Romeo uttered a single command, and his men immediately obeyed. Arabella then asked with interest, "So, you came to my doorstep, kidnapped my maid, and started a fight with my fiancé's crew. What's your game?" The information overload left Dennis stunned. What did she mean by my doorstep? My butler? These men were her fiancé's crew? What are you doing, my Clark? Arabella appeared to have figured something out and asked, her lips curling into a mischievous smile. Clark, whose name had been called, was utterly confused and had no idea what was going on. "Clark is your brother." Dennis was taken aback. He stared at the luxurious building before him, asking, "This is your place? What else? He really is your brother?" "Yep, do you know where he might be?" Dennis hadn't expected such a turn of events. Diana had a final wish before she left. Diana was Carol's nickname. Arabella listened to Dennis's words, then turned to Clark and repeated his statement. "You're saying Carol's last wish was to take one last look at Clark? Just a video? Without disturbing his life? Just watching him from afar?" Clark felt both heartbroken and touched as he looked at the girl on the couch. "Exactly, he's your brother. Do you have any recent videos of him? Send me one, or show Diana directly." Had he known Clark was Arabella's Clark earlier, he wouldn't have taken the long flight back home. But it wasn't too late. Arabella was right beside Diana, ready to show her the video anytime. "A recent video of Clark? I have one. I'll send it to you in a bit." She was pretty close to Clark now. After shooting a short video, Arabella sent it over. Dennis opened it to find his sister Diana lying on the couch next to Clark. What on earth was happening? The guys from Inferno clan located Carol's hideout. "Carol and I fought our way out and retreated to this castle," Arabella explained succinctly. "Carol got a bit injured, but her life is not in danger. Her poisoning can still be cured. You don't need to come over, we'll catch a plane tonight, and you can see her tomorrow." Dennis was in disbelief, a mix of worry and ecstasy. Diana can be saved? Can you do it? Really? Diana's condition had been deemed incurable by many renowned doctors. He didn't dare to harbor any hopes. But Arabella confidently replied, "Yes, she can be saved. We've already expelled some of the poison from her body." "And your level of certainty?" an excited Dennis asked. "About 70 to 80%, the girl on the other end of the line casually replied. 70 to 80%? Dennis was overjoyed, his mind in a daze from the unexpected good news. He hadn't expected Arabella to be so capable. Clark, standing nearby, gaped at his sister in disbelief. Could Carol still be saved? Could Bella bring her back? She's 70 to 80% sure about it? Meanwhile, Edith, who had been waiting for Bella's response for quite some time now, saw another group hastily departing. She worried that if Dennis stayed, he might pose a threat to Clark. The thing was, Dennis' emotional roller coaster, his alternating states of anxiety and jubilation, were reminiscent of a madman. Edith picked up a long clothesline pole from the garden and, with stealthy steps, walked up behind Dennis, striking him hard. Though Dennis was dazed by the overwhelming surprise, he was quick enough to seize the pole as he heard the noise behind him. "I'll fight you." Unable to retrieve the pole from Dennis' grip, Edith was both anxious and furious. On the other side of the phone, Arabella heard Edith's voice, and several question marks popped up in her mind. Was Edith personally disciplining Dennis? "I'm a friend of Arabella's," Dennis managed to explain while holding onto the pole. "What, Arabella? We've told you that there's no Arabella in our house. Let go." Edith stomped on his foot. Dennis winced in pain and withdrew his foot. Edith quickly grabbed the pole and prepared to strike him again. "Arabella, say something." Dennis quickly switched the phone to speaker. "Edith." Arabella's voice came through from the other end of the phone, causing Edith to freeze mid-action. "How do you have Ms. Bella's voice on your phone?" "Oh no, that's not right, we don't have a Ms. Bella. Don't trick me with synthesized voices." "Edith, Dennis is my friend. I forgot to tell you when you sent the video." Arabella had only thought of making Dennis stop as soon as possible to avoid hurting the innocent and didn't have time to reply to Edith's WhatsApp. "Ms. Bella? Is that really you?" Edith had indeed sent a video to Arabella. She was ecstatic but also appalled at the young man in front of her acting all shifty and crazy. How could Bella have such a friend? And a guy at that? "It's okay, go inside," Arabella advised from afar. "I'll go in then." Edith took the pole from Dennis, her suspicion of him not lessening even slightly. She always found the young man strange, especially his carrying a knife. "Your housemaid looks at me like I'm a madman," Dennis commented, finding Edith's retreating figure amusing. "So, where are we meeting tomorrow?" "I'll let you know once the time and place are confirmed." "Okay." After hanging up, Arabella explained the situation to Romeo and Clark. Clark was surprised. "Carol has a biological brother?" "I only found out last night," Arabella explained gently. According to Dennis, they recognized each other a few years ago, but they kept it from the organization. No wonder Carol has been able to hide under the organization's nose for so long. She has her brother's help. Clark glanced at the girl beside him, wondering how long it would be until she woke up. "You said earlier that you have a plan to deal with those people?" Romeo asked Arabella. "What is it?" Arabella smirked and said, "When Inferno Clan gets news of our return tonight, they'll surely send people to obstruct and assassinate us. I plan to lead some of them back to our country and deal with them there. Some of them will have to handle their own people due to their duties. Isn't it interesting? You're intentionally stoking their resentment, and they'll try to trip us up. You plan to seize their mistakes and catch them all in one swoop." "Exactly." Arabella gave a sly grin. "Tonight, I'll arrange for our forces. I'll have my people fully cooperate with you." Clark, standing nearby, was left speechless. Did they forget something? Although he was involved, it felt like he was not. "I'll take you back to your room to rest." Romeo knew Arabella was still hurt, so he's careful as he carried her. "Take a snooze, and when the plane arrives, we'll head back." Arabella wrapped her arms around him. Clark, when Carol wakes up, have someone inform me. All right. Watching their intimate interaction, Clark suddenly felt a little lonely. I know it hurts, Romeo murmured, carrying Arabella upstairs, his lips brushing against her tenderly. I wish I could rip those who hurt you limb from limb, grind their bones to dust. How dare they hurt his girl? He can't even bear to say a harsh word to her, let alone see her treated so brutally. Seeing the wounds on Arabella's arms and legs, Romeo's heart ached. He wished he could bear the pain for her. Dr. Klein said he has some pain relief cream for you once you wake up. I'll help you apply it, Romeo told her as they reached the second floor. Where's your room? He's never been to her room, so he didn't know which way to go. Over there. Arabella pointed with her chin, a faint smile on her lips as she looked at his chiseled jawline. Those guys are like Chester. They've been pumped with all sorts of drugs since they were kids. It's normal for them to be strong. That's no excuse for them to hurt you, Romeo carried her in the direction of her room. I've had a similar acupuncture mat made for you. I'll give it to you when we get back home. Arabella hadn't expected him to be so thoughtful, even considering such a detail. Acupuncture mat? I have plenty here. But the one I've got for you is special. Romeo remembered the patterns on it, so he had one made to match. Although it might not be a perfect replica, it's close enough. Arabella smiled softly at him, her eyes tender. When Romeo carried her into her room, the housekeepers who had returned were stunned. They can't believe their eyes. Mr. Macmillan was in the boss's room, and the boss didn't seem to mind. They exchanged glances. The boss seemed to treat him differently. Romeo gently set Arabella on the bed. Where's the pain relief cream? I'll have someone help me apply it later. No. Romeo looked at her insistently. Let me do something for you. Otherwise, he would feel terrible. The room at the front, the second drawer from the bottom on the left. Okay. When Romeo walked into that room, he realized it's practically a pharmacy connected to the bedroom. There were at least 100 drawers. All were filled with medicines, a faint medicinal scent permeating the room. Romeo opened the second drawer from the bottom. Inside were not just pain relief cream, but also pain relief capsules and tablets. All of them were not available on the market. They must be concoctions of her own making. Romeo picked up a jar of pain relief cream and headed back to Arabella. Did you get hurt often before? So she had stored so many medicines in this room, ready to treat her own wounds at any time? Just a bit when I first arrived. Arabella's reply was brief, but Romeo recalled what her subordinates had said, that she nearly lost her life when she first arrived, and it was Dennis who saved her. So, how many times had she been injured? How many times had she hidden in this small pharmacy to treat her own wounds? How much had she been through to become this strong? Romeo's heart ached. He sat down, his voice filled with worry. Let me see the wound on your back. It really doesn't hurt. But it's split open. Romeo had heard it from Jack, who had heard it from the doctor. Let me see. Romeo coaxed her for a while before she finally gave in with a sigh, allowing him to gently lift her shirt. The sight of the long bloody gash on her back made his eyes misty with a sudden surge of anger. Damn it! Those sons of a bitches! How dare they hurt her like that? Romeo's rage was coupled with a tearing pain in his heart. His eyes became bloodshot, and he did not know what to do. The wound on the girl's fair and delicate skin was particularly shocking. How much pain must she have been in when it happened? Romeo was afraid to think about it but couldn't help. In his rage, he wished he could uproot all of Inferno Clan, eliminating every last trace of it. Why are you silent? Sitting on the bed, Arabella turned her head to see his teary eyes. Was he crying? I'm fine, Arabella laughed. I'll be okay in a couple of days. Romeo's eyes were filled with a hot fog. The girl's comforting words made his eyes even redder. In a hoarse voice, he asked, How did you get hurt? There were too many people, and I didn't pay attention. Liar, with your skills, you can protect yourself. You must have been protecting Carol. Romeo knew that the young girl was hurt because she had tried to save Carol. Carol's injuries were also my fault, Arabella explained, fearing he would blame Carol. She told me to go ahead several times, even deliberately leading those people away. Carol was hurt as well. Both of them were doing everything they could to protect each other. I don't blame her. Romeo knew that in such a situation, both of them would risk their lives to protect each other. What he was angry at was those people, that organization. He would make sure all those involved paid a heavy price. Anyone associated with Inferno clan, he wouldn't let a single one off. Seeing that he was genuinely distressed, Arabella softly said, "Come here." Romeo knelt before her, his face filled with grief and guilt. Their eyes met. Arabella reached out and touched his head. "It's okay. We can get back at them later." "I'm sorry, Bella." Romeo touched her lips, looking at her sadly. "I didn't protect you. If I knew, I wouldn't have let you go with him. If anyone were going, it would be together." He'd rather Bella blame him for being unreasonable, blame him for not giving her enough freedom and trust, as long as he could protect her. At least not let her get hurt. If he had been there then, at least he could have stayed to clean up the mess. "It's not your fault." Arabella looked into his eyes, smiling, and said, "Aren't you going to apply the medicine for me?" The weather was a bit cold, and her back was still. "If it hurts, you have to tell me." Romeo touched her lips again before he reluctantly began to apply the medicine. The sight of the shocking wound made him plot his revenge against Inferno clan in his mind. "Honestly, I could do a one-hand handstand for you." The girl's words successfully made him laugh. "You do better showing me how to be a good wife and mother." "Let me experience it." "What if I'm not a good wife and mother?" "Then no one else is." Arabella laughed. "I don't think I'm cut out for that role in this lifetime." "You don't have to be a good wife or a good mother. Just be yourself," Romeo said softly. "In front of me, just be yourself. I don't care about being a good wife or a good mother, and I just want you by my side." Arabella's eyes softened, her lips curling into a gentle smile as she said, "You're quite easily contented. I think I'm the greedy one, being able to be with someone as wonderful as you." "I'll have to work harder from now on," Romeo said, his touch light as he applied ointment to her wounds. "You, just you, outweigh everything in the world. You're enough to resist any temptation. In this life, you alone are enough for me." Her gaze warmed even further at his words. "Does it hurt?" Romeo asked as he gently rubbed ointment onto her back wound. "Your touch is much lighter than those of the guys," she noted. He must have a knack for medicine. When she had been unconscious, someone had dumped way too much powder on her wound, causing her excruciating pain. After Romeo finished applying the ointment, he gently kissed her on a spot that was not injured. The soft touch made Arabella lift her eyes, her beautiful side profile reflected in his eyes. Romeo leaned in again, unable to resist meeting her lips. A soft sense of love passed from their lips, and Arabella slowly responded to his kiss. Their feelings for each other intertwined, as they found themselves unable to pull away. "Boss." At that moment, Jack walked in, knocking on the door as he usually did, with a few others trailing behind him. Seeing Romeo on one knee, kissing the girl on the bed, Jack and the others stared in disbelief. Although Arabella's back was covered by her clothes, Romeo immediately pulled the blanket over her body to shield her. Both of their lips were still red, the affection in their eyes still visible. "Did I say you could come in?" Arabella's voice was slightly seductive, her eyes lighting up when she saw Jack, Tom, and the others with bruised faces. "You guys got hurt?" "No biggie, boss. We wanted to escort you back," Jack explained, still worried about them boarding the plane with such few numbers. Seeing their injuries, Arabella decided, "You guys stay here and heal." "Boss." Jack wanted to protest but held back. Instead, he said, "We'll come find you once we're fully healed." Hearing this, Jack and the others were overjoyed. "We'll take good care of ourselves. You guys have worked hard this month. Everyone gets a 10-fold bonus." Their eyes fit up with jubilation. "Long live the boss. Go take care of your wounds." "Boss, are you feeling better?" Jack couldn't help but ask. "Do you need me to contact the doctor so he can check on you when you get back?" "No need. Enough with the chatter." Jones yanked Jack away. "They're having a moment. Why are you meddling?" "There's nothing wrong with me talking to my boss." Your boss needs to date to get married. Leave them alone. Downstairs, Clark noticed Carol's finger twitch. He couldn't believe it, but he was overjoyed. Not long after, Carol opened her eyes, squinting as she tried to adjust to the light. She was already a vision of ethereal beauty, and the moment she opened her eyes, she looked even more breathtaking. Clark finally saw a living person, and he exclaimed with excitement and caution, "Carol." Hearing the familiar voice, Carol paused, her gaze falling onto Clark, seemingly in disbelief. "Clark? You're finally awake." Clark's voice wavered as he hugged her tightly. "Thank God, you're finally awake." Thank heavens, his girl was finally awake. Carol didn't even know how she ended up there, but as she felt the familiar yet long-missed embrace of the man, her eyes instantly welled up with tears. Instinctively, she hugged him back. "Is this a dream?" Carol closed her eyes, deeply inhaling his scent. It must be a dream. She often had dreams like this. In her dreams, Clark held her just like this, sometimes joyously, sometimes tearfully as he was now. The only constant was that Clark was not by her side every time she woke up. The overwhelming void and loss had tormented her time and again. "It's not a dream." Clark's voice was hoarse as he fought back tears. "Bella brought you back." Seizing the opportunity, he formally introduced, "Bella is my sister. We were reunited a few months ago. She went to Stardust Lane and told me that your departure might not have been voluntary, so we followed the clues." "Arabella." Carol seemed to remember something and quickly asked, "Where is she?" "She got a bit hurt. She's resting upstairs." "Is her life in danger?" "No." Clark stroked her soft hair lovingly. "Don't worry, you're safe here. This is her territory." "This is her territory?" Carol asked again, lifting her eyes. "Yeah, she's the boss here." Clark's sister was the boss of Mafia Flame, Mr. Bryant? This time, it was Carol's turn to be surprised. "Didn't your brother tell you?" Clark asked, his gaze softening. "He only said that Arabella was his good friend, that they've been through life and death together. He didn't go into details." As Carol said this, she noticed the injuries on Clark's body. Remembering what Arabella had said, her tears welled up even more. "All these wounds, you endured them for me." Carol looked at his injuries with a heartache. She was furious at Inferno Clan for daring to harm her man. "I was careless, but luckily Bella was there. She was the first to realize that something was wrong. The talisman you left me, she was the first to discover it. She and her fiancé even went to Inferno Clan and brought back all the data you stored in your computer." Hearing this, Carol felt a mix of happiness and embarrassment. Clark held her face and said with a grin, "Without Bella, I wouldn't have realized how important I am to you. The 3 questions you set were all about me. And when Bella lied to you about my death, the way you looked so upset." Carol was even more embarrassed, but knowing that the data was in safe hands and not seized by Inferno Clan, she breathed a sigh of relief. Next, she would definitely undermine part of Inferno Clan's power and expose their dark deeds. "Carol, I missed you so much." Clark held her face, leaning in to kiss the lips he'd longed for in the joy of their reunion. Carol had already broken up with him and instinctively wanted to resist. However, the longing that had built up over the year overpowered her. She missed him too much and found herself responding to his kiss, closing her eyes and letting the tears fall. Jack led his gang down the spiral staircase, only to gaze upon 2 people engaged in a passionate lip lock. It was as if the world no longer belonged to the singletons like him, constantly faced with public displays of affection. Just as Jack was about to speak, Jones quickly covered his mouth and led him down a different path. Clark deepened their kiss, releasing all the unsaid words and pent-up longing of more than a year. Their passionate embrace was like a storm, coming relentlessly, wave after wave. After what seemed like an eternity, Carol gasped for air, prompting Clark to pull away. His dazed eyes still shone with undiminished affection. His handsome features were even more striking than before, though he seemed thinner, his face gaunter. Was it from the injury or out of worry for her? He looked overall more worn out. Carol looked at his injuries, heart heavy. "Why are you such a fool? I told you I've fallen for someone else."
Why won't you let go? I only want you, no one else. Clark looked at her, his eyes red and raw. Promise me you won't ever leave me again? But Carol's eyes dimmed, her voice low. You've seen the 2 data packages, haven't you? No. Clark looked back at her, his voice firm. I know the dangers ahead, and I know who you are. I don't care. I'm not afraid. As long as you're with me, I can handle anything. Carol was puzzled. With your status, you could have anyone you want. You're the one I want. Clark took her face in his hands, his words sincere. I know what kind of person I'm looking for, and it's you. I'm not interested in anyone else. He leaned in again, slowly, savoring her sweetness. Carol let him kiss her for a while before she murmured, You're such a fool. He was the top hacker, the Clark of the Collins family. Yet, he insisted on her, the successor of a notorious organization, an orphan. Their worlds were polar opposites, black and white, and they were not supposed to be together. The fool is you. Your symptoms started to show in the 7th month of our relationship, yet you didn't let me in. I was so stupid. I noticed your odd behavior but didn't think much of it. Back then, during their dates, he would often find her returning from the restroom looking pale. But he didn't think much of it, trusting her when she said it was just her period. That's because you trusted me. You believed every word I said, even my lies. Clark looked into her eyes again, leaning in to kiss her. I wasn't attentive enough. From now on, I'll pay more attention. I won't let you bear all this pain alone anymore. Clark, I don't want to drag you down, Carol confessed. This situation is too far-reaching. It's not something we can handle on our own. Moreover, I don't want to implicate those around you like your sister. Speaking of Arabella, Carol felt a pang of guilt. At first, I thought she was a spy sent by the organization, so I attacked her. Then those Chester came, and I told her to leave, but she insisted on taking me with her. She got hurt several times trying to help me. She could have escaped on her own, but she chose to carry the burden of me. Tears welled up in Carol's eyes. She was badly injured but still carried me back. I owe her so much. After all, they were strangers before, only connected because of Clark.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.